How's it going, guys? My name is Franco and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be going over our monthly analysis for the month of June, and pretty well what we do in these videos is look at what has happened in the previous month in May, what we expect to come in not only the following month but for I guess the rest of this cycle and the rest of time. It's our speculation, so we just rehash things every month and see what the market is doing. And if you do enjoy this sort of content, make sure to hit that subscribe button. We are awfully close to 1,000 subs, so it'd be much appreciated if you do hit that subscribe button. Push us up to 1,000 subs. That is one of our goals for this year, so it'd be much appreciated. But let's just jump straight into the analysis. What are we going to be talking about sort of today? I'm not sure, as you guys have seen by the title, is that the question that we sort of have to start to ask is it time to sell? And that's sort of what we're going to be looking at today, some sell targets, because we are obviously, or not anymore, but we were in all-time high territory during the month of May. May is the highest monthly close ever at, what did it close at? 104,600. And then, of course, closest to that, it was 102,000. So we are slightly up on our monthly close, and things are looking pretty good from our perspective. So we're starting off here with the 4-year cycle, because one of our sell targets is, of course, time. We spoke about this in another one of our videos. If we go down, we'll be able to find it here. 5 key sell indicators. In this video, we covered pretty well what we're looking at in order to sell. And one of those is, of course, timing in the market. So we've been following this 4-year cycle for a long time now. It's been serving us very well. We cover this pretty well every video. And so far, there is nothing to suggest that this is over just yet. Although we are getting awfully close to the end of the cycle. We're talking about essentially October being pretty well the end of the cycle. We are now in June. Believe it or not, so we got June, July, August, September, October. We've got about 4 months theoretically until the end of the cycle. So timing wise, we are getting awfully close. Is there a little bit more upside? Yes, I do believe so. Of course, that is all speculation, so take it with a grain of salt. But it is getting to that point where we should consider starting to take profits. We have spoken about basically the second half of 2025 being time to take profits. So we're getting awfully close to that. So it is time to start to consider definitely taking some profits. But in saying that, nothing on the large time frame really suggests that things aren't necessarily over right now. We spoke about holding previous previous swing tops and swing bottoms. We are still holding the swing tops and the swing bottoms. So maybe if things rolled over, oh, that was a bit of a bad drawing. Maybe if we'll change the color. Can we change the color? I'm not too sure. I'll have to draw first, but there we go. If we were to roll over and break this line here, that would be a sell signal right there. But of course, that is a long way off. We did speak about this also being a sell signal previously, in particular when we were pushing towards all-time highs before. We were talking about essentially holding prior swing tops, which we clearly did, as you can see just here. And of course, more importantly, holding swing lows, which we never ended up getting to. So from that point of view, things are still holding up very well. From the timing point of view, things are still holding up very well, and there's no real need for concern at this stage. So not necessarily any sell triggers hit just yet in that regards. We are looking at also this sort of RSI trend that we've seen where, I mean, it's not a great drawing, but you guys get the idea, right? Where pretty well we tend to hit this RSI trend line every single time, and it does pretty well mark the top of the cycle. We are a long way off that yet. So assuming, if this target were to get hit, this is just one target that I'm looking at. That could also be a sell signal. Maybe it doesn't happen at all. Maybe it happens. But these are all just little things that we're looking at. And so far, nothing has been triggered so far to suggest that the cycle is over. And if we look at our 4-year cycle, we are still looking at October being the top. Now, this is a pretty interesting chart that I've just sort of drawn up myself, because we sort of, with timing, we want to start to look at taking profits, as we said, in the second half of 2025. We've also got some price targets, that we were looking at previously, as well as some possible points to consider selling. The first one of those being $118,000. What we've got here in the purple is the prior all-time high, which of course is now broken. The all-time high is around 12,000. Is that 12,000 on the dot? I reckon It is. Apparently it is 12,000 on the absolute dot, so that's quite interesting. But and of course the prior monthly or daily swing close. Sorry, the highest daily close, I mean. So we are just looking at those as possible support and resistance levels. You can sort of see it has pinged around that area for a little bit, but really we are looking for our price targets around 118, 130, and I've just put 160,000 in there for argument's sake. And then along here we have got every single week in the second half of this year. So it should start, I think, did I put it every Saturday? Saturday. So every Saturday is marked from the 28th of June onwards. And you can see here that we sort of just got it from orange being, I guess, sort of away from the sell target to yellow to green. Green I've put from, I believe around, yeah, it's pretty well the October month. So September 27 to November, because as we discussed with the 4-year cycle, we are looking at October being the prime time to sell, but we want to start selling pretty well either side of that. So I've just sort of got here, you know, a rough idea of something that you could consider if you were looking to start to sell out of the market and sell exponentially into what is hopefully the peak. So of course, insert your own numbers into this depending. I've just put $1,000 because it's a nice round number. So maybe if you had, you know, a lot of money in this, I think this is up to about 300,000 in the market. I'm sure everyone wished they had 300,000 in the market when it comes time to sell. So of course you got to scale this sort of your own way, but it is a possible way of looking at selling is just doing it time-based selling. So you know, you might start off with $1,000 in the first week, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, so on and so forth. So as the market gets hotter into the peak, which we assume to be around October, based on timing, please remember, based on timing, is that you should start to sell exponentially into that. So practice selling early on and then move and then continue to sell more and more. And then of course you got your price targets as well, which we've already discussed a long time ago. Same thing again in this video if you want to check out sort of my ideas behind these price targets. But generally speaking, we're sort of talking from around 118,000 to 130, and then I've just put 160. I don't think we'll hit 160,000 this cycle. I've already made it clear that I don't think we'll probably even hit 150. So I'm just throwing that out there as that, you know, if you know, and this is how I like to use charts, is that, you know, if you put things on here like 160,000, I've got a green line, is that if Bitcoin hits that, you know, I've got to sell everything, right? That's sort of my idea. So I put this here and I will follow through with that if we do hit 160,000, but I don't think it will happen. That's why we've got the you know, the time targets and just an idea of what you could do. Oh, didn't mean to move that. But just an idea of what you could do if you wanted to start selling out based on a time target. You can see that, you know, it feels like a long way away, the end of the cycle. It never really feels like it's here, but you can see it's getting awfully close, and we are pretty well just about to hit it, you know, pretty well face on. So of course some early warning signs as well that things are probably rolling over. We did speak about, I keep moving that thing. We did talk about, you know, the monthly swing lows being broken as a potential early sign that if, you know, what's it at now, 74,420, if that were to be broken, you know, that would be big cause for concerns for the cycle. But the first very early indicator is this 50% level at 93,000, because of course, yeah, we are in a slight downtrend since the start of the month here, or it was I guess it was more late May that we started into this downtrend, at least on the short term. So if things do roll over, we are looking at this 93,000 as a very critical line of support. Hopefully, you know, we just sort of continue up slowly, not too fast, but, you know, sort of slowly as the market continues on. But that is the first line of defense I would be looking at here. But as we said, you know, at this point in time, there's really no reason to think that the cycle is over. Of course, all of our confirmation signals will come a little bit late, but at this point in time, nothing really to suggest that it is over. That's why we're looking at these timing sell signals that we can look at in the cycle. Moving on to ETH, we did, you know, we've been pretty bearish on ETH, but it has had a really good recovery just the last couple of weeks. And as you can see on the daily chart, we did regather our trend line, the major trend line of support that we've been talking about for a long time. You can see it's been holding up, you know, this bull market cycle for a very long time now. And we have actually sprung back into sort of that range. We are currently finding resistance at or the bottom end of the 50% level. So ideally, what we want to see if you're a ETH bull is that we do not close below this. In fact, we get above and consolidate above the 50%. That would be very, very bullish at this point in time, and that would probably flip me to be more bullish on Ethereum. As I've said, I have been very bearish on it ever since, we sort of come down, broke the 50%, or not that 50%, but we've broken a lot of 50% levels. And then, of course, since we broke this trend line, I have been very bearish on it. I think it's pretty well over for ETH this cycle. We might get a late pump up, as we've been talking about. Even if you do get above this line, how far do we pump this late into the cycle? Because, as you can see here, we've also got marked our timing, which is the second half of 2025. So this is, I think, what is it, July 1st to... what is it, November 30th? Okay, that's what we've got marked on here. Oh, December 1st, sorry, it's down the bottom there, I didn't realize. But we've got that time frame marked is when we are wanting to sell all of our assets, all of our Ethereum, and you can see that we're pretty well in it already. So I don't think there's much longer, as we said, for this cycle to run up. There is, and I'm sort of contradicting myself here where I've said, I don't think it's over for the cycle for Bitcoin, but for Ethereum, it's just sort of like how much risk do you want to take? I think, a lot of these assets will pretty well just die after this cycle. So I think Ethereum possibly some more gains, but we do need to see that above the 50%. I will be bullish if that happens for the short term, but I think if we break that 50%, best case scenario is basically a pump, break above, blow off top. That's it for Ethereum. And that's a pretty big call. Of course, I'm not saying that 6,000 is going to happen. I'm saying, that's basically best case scenario that we do, get back above the 50, push back up, get that fourth time breakout of the $4,000 resistance, and then pump into a blow off top, and then that's it for the cycle. So, will that happen? I hope so. That'd be great, right? But no guarantees, of course. It's still looking quite weak. We're still on the bottom end of the 50% level. There's still a lot of resistance all over Ethereum. So we'll have to wait and see with time. But just really watch that 50% level and the trend line for the very, very short term. You can see that we are just bouncing around it. I guess if we want to get really, really short term here, we could be looking at, 1, 2, 3, possibly a fourth time breakout again to get above the 50%. That would be ideal, but we will have to wait and see. That's all speculation. But if we can get above that 50%, consolidate, I will be at least short-term bullish on ETH. Otherwise, it's all doom and gloom for Ethereum. A bit of a similar story for Solana. We've spoken about Solana quite a few times. If we go back, I can't find it exactly, but we've spoken about how we sold Solana quite a while ago now, and since then, since we sold up around these price levels, it really hasn't shown much strength at all. I think, are we on logarithmic right now? No, this isn't logarithmic. No, this is standard. So, you can see it had a pretty big blow off top, around $300. Of course, that was an all-time high, but there were bearish signs at the time. If you're curious on what those signs were, go back and watch the videos. You can just go to our playlist and then find the monthly analysis playlist. It'll all be in there for you guys. So for Solana right now, it's in a similar spot to ETH where it is, overall bearish, and there's a lot of reason to believe it will just sort of roll over and continue down. You can see that we are above, though, the 50%, a very major 50% of this cycle. So from $8 through to $300, we are actually currently above that. So if we can hold that 50%, similar story, break above the next 50%, which is this correction here. So this line here, make that very thick so it stands out, and then consolidate. We could see, our best case scenario for Solana is that we do see one final blow off top, but is that likely? In my opinion, quite possibly not. Maybe, or I think it's more probable that we just, with where we are in the cycle and the time left, that maybe we just see a lower high, and then, things start to break down. Not like that exactly, as, these are all scribbly lines, not like that exactly, but it is quite possible that we do just see a lower high on the macro scale for Solana, and then it rolls over. As we've said, that a lot of alts are probably going to die after this cycle, and this will be it. This will be like the .com bubble for crypto, more than likely. So It's really important that you do get out whilst prices are still quite high. Like, I know it's significantly below the all-time high, but if it does pump up above sort of that $200 range, like, I'd be looking at selling, to be honest. Same thing. So you know, once again, have to wait and see what happens, but there's just not a lot of time left in this cycle, and it is getting, at the longer you hold at this point in time, the more risky it gets exponentially, because, you know, this target band is very small and it is running out of time. So very small target band, and yeah, the longer you hold, the more risky things get. And of course, last but not least is Crow. So the last few months we've been covering, I mean, back from, I guess, February into March, is that Crow has been down quite significantly from the cycle peak, which you guys can see here. We've had a couple big run-ups and a couple big drawdowns, but I think the positive thing here is that Crow is actually putting in, like, oh, we get our pen back out, is putting in higher highs, or sorry, higher lows at this point in time. We did see this very recent pump just here, because of the CRO ETF announcement. So that is a pretty big announcement. These last couple of bars have pushed up because of that. And what we want to see, I feel like I say the same thing every video, and that's because it's still true, is that we want to actually hold and consolidate above 10 cents. What we have seen so far this cycle is rejection at 10 cents, breakthrough, but then immediately, you know, breaking back down. Once again, breakthrough, immediately breaking back down. So remove all that. So 10 cents is, you know, major resistance, and when we do get above, it doesn't hold up very well. So let's, you know, hopefully hold above 10 cents. Then we can push up. The next big one is, you know, it's basically these round numbers. 15 cents, you can see resistance in the past, you know, a little bit of support in these areas, and then 20 cents is the next one. It's these round numbers that CRO really struggles with, and that's where we see, you know, most of the resistance. Of course, it, you know, it wicks a bit higher, it gets up to 23, but that general area is around that 20 cents. So those round numbers that we need to be really concerned about. But it is good to see that at least short term, if I can delete, I've got to delete all these. I'm getting there slowly, but it is good to see short term, as we said, at least, you know, holding above 10 cents for the moment. And of course, the ETF announcement is very positive for CRO, or at least the filing for the ETF. We'll do a whole video on that, covering my thoughts and what it sort of means for CRO. But similar to the Bitcoin ETF, the sentiment is that it should bring in more inflows to CRO, more investment into CRO, which is a good thing. It pushes price up. But CRO is very similar to the better or for worse, almost every other altcoin right now, where we are running out of time. So I think the difference between CRO and something like ETH and Sol is that CRO can run very hot. You know, we're talking sort of like, you know, it can do a 10x in a matter of months. I don't think ETH can do that. So that's sort of what we're hoping for here now with Solana, is that we do pump up quite considerably. You can see there is some previous, I'll put this on the weekly chart so we can see it a bit more. But you can see on the weekly chart, there are some pretty clear patterns with CRO of, you know, ever increasing huge moves to the upside. That is what we're hoping for now. One final pump into the end of the cycle. We've been talking about this for a long time. So, and we've been talking about buying CRO ever since, you know, I think our first call to buy CRO was possibly, was it this one? May 23rd? I'll have to go back and find the exact post, but yeah, we've been talking about CRO for a very long time. So hopefully this does pay off and we can see some pretty strong gains. I'll find it. Here it is. So this is the post where we say this is, you know, it's cut off there on your guys' screen, but this is the optimistic outlook for CRO, and you can see that we're down here at 5 cents. So we've been talking about CRO for a very long time. We're now at 10 cents. You know, we've been accumulating. Now we just want to see it have a big final pump. So anyways, guys, that pretty well covers everything. If you do enjoy this sort of content, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I'll be up pushing for 1,000 subs, and check out the video description. We'll need to, how's it going? I don't want to listen to myself, but check out the video description. You'll see a whole bunch of different sign-up bonuses and things like that for Australian exchanges, in particular Coinspot, Swyftx, crypto.com. If you guys are interested in signing up to any of those, please feel free to do so. Get yourself some free crypto. I only put, you know, what would you call it, companies or sign up bonuses and things for companies and I can't think of the word, but things that I use basically and that I trust. So we're all in the same boat if something were to go wrong. Fingers crossed. I still have a little bit of fear in crypto, like I think most people should have. But that is everything, guys. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.